So good morning and thank you for joining the Cooper Metals Limited Investor Webinar. I'm Jane Morgan, the Investor and Media Relations Manager. And today I am joined by our Managing Director, Ian Warland, who will run through the company presentation which was lodged with the ASX this morning. To ask a question throughout the presentation, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Ian, I'll pass on to you.
Thanks, Jane, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining us today, this Monday morning. I'm going to go through a fairly short presentation about Cooper Metals to introduce myself and the company, to take you through our three main projects and talk about our short to medium terms for exploration for copper and gold. So as Jane said, we listed on Friday just gone, so November the 19th. It was a very exciting day. I went over to Perth to the ASX to ring the bell and launch Cooper Metals onto the stock exchange. So we're really excited about that. It's been a culmination of around 10 months' work pulling this all together. Firstly, we had to find the right experienced board, and then we had to find the right projects, which I'll take you through now. So we've got our standard disclaimer, which you can see all this on the website. The presentation itself has been uploaded to the ASX this morning. So welcome to Cooper Metals. Our IPO was oversubscribed. We raised the maximum that we could, so $4.8 million. So that means we've got about $5 million in cash at the moment. We're an Australian-based copper gold explorer. We're targeting the greenfields end of exploration, so the discovery end, because in my experience, my belief is that that is really where the shareholder value is created at discovery of new mineralisation and new deposits. So we've been able to acquire, we believe at a very good price, three very high quality copper and gold projects in Australia. And they include our Mount Isa East project, our Yamarna gold project in WA, and our Gooroo copper gold project in WA as well. We've got an experienced board of 3 people, and our market capitalisation is quite modest. It's around 8.8 million, which makes the share price really highly leveraged to any exploration success. And we did that on purpose, so we were able to acquire these projects at a reasonable value, so that the market capitalisation wasn't overinflated, which often it is with some of these new companies. So importantly, we've already had a field trip up to our Mount Isa East project, which is our flagship project. And we do have some samples, some rock chips in the laboratory at the moment, and we will be able to update the market shortly when those results are available to us. So a quick corporate snapshot. Our ASX code CPM, share price, listing price is 20 cents. 40 million shares, a market cap of around 8 million, about 5 million in cash, which makes us well funded to execute our exploration programs across the 3 projects. The shares are quite tightly held. The top 20 have about 50%, and the board has around 12% of the shares on issue. Just the photo here is just myself up at the historical mine in the Mount Isa East project. Board of directors, look, just quickly, Michael, our chairman, he's a geologist, but he's a qualified accountant as well, and mainly been in the finance side for the last 20 or 30 years. Myself, I'm an experienced geologist with around 30 years experience exploring in Australia and overseas for a variety of commodities. I was lucky enough with my team to win Explorer of the Year back in about 2006 for some mineral sands projects in South Australia. But I've got a lot of experience in base metals, copper, gold, exploration as well. And Tim is a financial advisor, and I worked with him in other companies, and we've really got a good relationship and a very experienced board. So a quick project summary. Like I said, we have 3 main project areas. Our flagship project is the Mount Isa East project. It's the world-class Mount Isa inlier. We have a very large tenement package of around 1,300 square kilometres, and it's very prospective for iron oxide copper gold, iron sulfide copper gold, and gold deposits. We also have two projects in WA. Firstly, the Yamarna Gold Project, which is a long strike from Gold Road's Gooroo deposit, which is a multi-million ounce gold deposit. And then the Gooroo Copper Gold Project in WA, which is in the Murchison area, the Gulliver Greenstone Belt. It's only 20 kilometres away from Silver Lake's Deflector Mine, which has about 1.3 million ounces of gold, and it also has copper associated with it. We have a newly identified greenstone, part of the greenstone belt there, and up to 26 kilometres of unexplored greenstone potential. So just going into a little bit more detail, firstly with the Mount Isa East project, our flagship project. We're targeting IOCGs and ISCGs and shear-hosted copper and gold. It's a very large project area made up of 5 different tenements there. We've got potential for third-party processing options like Glencore in Mount Isa. So that means we can find smaller deposits that don't need to be standalone. It can still be very, very economic for junior companies such as us. There's a very strong network of shear zones and faults in the area, and we've already identified a number of places to follow up. So this map you can see here, I'm just pointing out our tenement package here. It's basically straddles what we call the Western Fold Belt, the Kalkadoon-Leichhardt Belt, and the Eastern Fold Belt. And a lot of you would be probably familiar with deposits such as Ernest Henry in the Eastern Fold Belt and Star deposit as well. So we're in this area here that straddles these major faults and shear zones. There's a number of secondary shears that pass through our tenement area, and there's a number of copper and gold occurrences or historical copper and gold occurrences that occur in our tenement package. The Barbara deposit, which is outside of just to the north of our tenement package, is about 4.7 million tonnes at 1.6% copper. So they're the type of things that we're looking for. That's an iron sulfide copper gold deposit, and it stands out in electromagnetic geophysics. So what we've done is we've reprocessed all the available geophysics and magnetics for the area, and we've done a real study of that. And we've identified a number of priority areas. So in the red boxes here, you can see we've identified 5 priority camp scale target areas. All these yellow blobs here are copper gold occurrences, the historical ones, and we've identified a number of trends worthy of follow-up. Now, we've been out to site doing some ground truthing of many of these prospects, including King Solomon. And King Solomon is a series of old pits and shafts that are about 50 to 100 years old along here, where we found copper mineralisation. And the really surprising thing for this area is a real lack of drilling. So the area hasn't really been touched by modern exploration for decades, and we see a real opportunity here to go back, have a look at these historical occurrences, to get some more geophysics, some geochemistry, rank those targets prior to any drill testing. Now moving over to WA, our Yamarna Gold Project. So the Yamarna Greenstone Belt, it's about 140 kilometres east of Laverton in the Yamarna district, WA. It's the Yamarna terrain is a fairly new terrain as far as gold terrains go in WA. And the Gooroo gold deposit was found about 10 years ago, and it's a multi-million ounce gold deposit. It's about 6.6 million ounces owned by Gold Road. Now, we've been lucky enough to secure tenure along strike from the Gooroo gold deposit, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. We've got 2 tenement areas, a smaller tenement down here on the Yamarna Greenstone, and we've already identified from some historical RAB drilling some anomalous gold mineralisation there. So just zooming in, this is a zoom up of our northern tenement. The green here is the greenstone belt that's surrounded by granite terrains. So you've got the Gooroo gold deposit just sitting here, and it's on what they call the Dorothy Hills shear zone. So there's a kink in that shear zone here, and that's where the gold mineralisation has fallen out. We have an extension to that Dorothy Hill shear zone through our tenure here, and that has had very little drilling work done in the past. You can see the old drill holes are plotted up for here in orange, and that this area remains untested. So it's under shallow cover. So the next step there is, once access is all sorted out, that we can get in there with a RAB rig and test that shear zone. It's really highly prospective for gold. So we're very excited about that. Our last project here, or our third project in WA as well, is the Gooroo Gold Project. So it's the Gooroo Greenstone Belt. It's in the Murchison region of WA. You've got the Deflector mine here, owned by Silver Lake. It's about 1.2 million ounces of gold. It's high grade, 13.5 grams per tonne gold, and it's also got 0.8% copper. So that you know, it's a very valuable deposit, and it's getting mined at the moment. Our tenement area, you can see here, the tenements in yellow. We have around 26 kilometres of greenstone belt. You might wonder why this area hasn't been well explored in the past. Well, the story behind this one is that the geophysics were reviewed by the Geological Survey of WA in 2020, and this area is under cover. So that means there's not much outcrop exposed, and the geophysics indicated that the greenstone belt goes further south than first thought. So this ground was open, and we pegged that ground in our own right. Now, we've been out to site there as well. There are outcropping greenstones in this part of the tenement. There's been very little geochemistry work done there in the past. So we want to get in there as soon as possible, follow up these areas of outcrop with some geochemistry, looking for gold anomalism, and then targeting these areas undercover with some RAB drilling. So the key takeaways really are that we're a copper gold explorer with 3 areas highly prospective for copper and gold targets in Queensland and WA. We purposely went out to find projects that were in known mineralised terrains that we believed were underexplored, and that we could gain these projects at a reasonable price, so that with a low enterprise value or a lower market cap, our share price is very strongly leveraged to any exploration success. We've got a strong pipeline of early stage targets to follow up, and we've got year-round news flow from these 3 different project areas. We'll be having an exploration update to the market very shortly to tell you our plans and results in the short to medium term. I really think that the whole copper and gold space is a very exciting area. Copper and gold prices are at near all-time highs. We don't see that changing anytime soon. I mean, the copper itself is being declared a critical mineral from the International Energy Agency, and it's declared as the most important critical mineral going forward with this push towards green energy. A lot of copper is needed for these wind turbines and solar panels and infrastructure grids, and of course electric vehicles. So we think it's a really exciting area to be in, and there's a lot of potential. Thank you for your attention. Now, if you've got any questions.
Thank you for that, Ian. I'll just bring up the Q&A section. And as I mentioned, you can ask questions via the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. We've got a question that's come through. So would you be looking at acquiring new projects as well in the near term?
Well, we have allowed for, in the prospectus, we did outline that we would be looking at new projects. Now, we're very excited about the projects that we have, and we have, a budget and a plan going forward for exploration of those 3 project areas. So we're going to be busy doing that, but any good explorer knows that you need to keep an eye out for the new projects as well. You've got to keep your pipeline of targets full so that you can work through them and give yourself the best chance of making a discovery.
Can you just touch on the heritage and environmental clearances across the projects?
Yeah, so we have We have agreements in place in Gooroo and also in the Mount Isa East project. So we have heritage agreements there. We're working through that with our Yamarna project as well. We're working through the heritage agreements in that point. So it's a fairly standard process in exploration. Once you've got a heritage agreement, you just need to go through the process of making sure that you've got access to the areas prior to any drilling. Normally these agreements, and I'm talking generally, you can do a lot of low impact work. You can do all your geophysics, your geochemistry before you do any other heritage clearances. Our due diligence that was done by the lawyers during the prospectus and the IPO process indicated that there were no significant issues at all. As far as the environmental access is concerned, similarly, there's a well-known and a well-trodden path to go through the regulatory process prior to any drilling. So we don't see any impediments at this stage in those areas.
Thanks, Ian. And what project are you most excited about?
Look, they're all exciting, but the most exciting, I think, from the get-go is the Mount Isa East project, largely because it is a large project area, so 1,300 square kilometres. We have numerous copper gold targets that we've already identified. I've been to site and really liked what I saw. So we just need to go through that systematic process where we can look at all these targets and rank them, apply modern geochemistry and geophysics to them. I mean, there are areas that we could back a drill rig up there tomorrow and start drilling. But to give ourselves the best chance possible, we need to just go through this ranking process, pick the best ones for drilling, and then drill those at the appropriate time. So we're trying to get through that process as quick as possible so we can start drilling at Mount Isa East.
Look, I know we are going to be doing an update, and you did mention this, that we'll be doing an update to the market on the exploration program. But can you just give us a little bit more background on what we're thinking the drill program might look like?
Yeah, so typically, Mount Isa East, the drill program, we're targeting we have two main strategies. So you've got all these historical copper and gold occurrences up there. Some have got old pits on them. They've got old shafts. Some of them are just occurrences in the ground that you can see, old gossans and things. So they're probably the low-hanging fruit that you can back a rig up to and test underneath these things and see if the mineralisation extends and how large it is. But we've also got a number of conceptual targets as well. So these are targets based on the current geophysics and the geology in the area. So we're targeting reactive rock units that we know host mineralisation elsewhere around the Mount Isa inlier. And we're looking at favourable structural trap sites. So what we'll be doing in those more conceptual areas is getting a bit more geochemistry, applying some airborne and ground geophysics prior to any drill testing.
Wonderful, Ian. Well, I think that covers everything. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to reach out via the contact details on the bottom of our ASX releases. But thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks, Jane, and thanks to all the investors for taking part.